Hello everybody and welcome to our Sunday program called What's Going On Here. I'm Bob Venn and we're in the village of Champlain today for our endeavor to bring you what's happening in the North Country. Today we're right in the village itself and we're at one of the most important places that you have in any community. Some of your best facilities are your water and sewer. If you don't have that, you don't have a community. And in the village of Champlain we have a new sewer system that's been upgraded over the past several years. We got a new water system, but today we're going to be devoting our time to, sanitation, wastewater treatment plant. And we're right on camera here tonight. And with me is Kevin Hicks. He's the operator down here, Kevin?
Yep.
That's right. And I'm Bob Venn. Calvin Castine's on that camera, if I didn't already say that. And thanks for tuning in every Sunday and every day on Hometown Cable. Kevin, before we get into what you're doing, where'd you come from? Tell us a little bit about the Hicks. A lot of Hickses in Champlain.
Well, I was been here most of my life. I was born in Plattsburgh and spent a few years when my father was in the service. But I've been here ever since. I've been employed by the village for 9 years now.
All right. Who was your dad?
Edward.
Okay. And village for 9 years. Have you always been in this end of it? Have you been doing?
I started in the wastewater business in 1987.
Okay. Now the wastewater plant in Champlain is not completely new. We've had we've had it for 20 years plus.
1963, the original plant was
30
built.
years. Okay. At that before that, it was going directly into the river, like the other communities up and down. I often said that the water comes down to us dirty. We clean it up, use it, put it back, and clean it before we put it back in with the dirty water coming from upriver. And I think we're the only community up that has water and sewer all the way up to Malone, probably. I don't know what Chateauguay, maybe Chateauguay does, but there's a lot of water that's not as clean going in that river. But we're doing our job, and we had an original plant, then we had a secondary treatment, etc.
Secondary
we're
was
going to let you explain that a little bit more deeply.
Secondary plant was upgraded in 1991. Prior to that, we were primary Imhoff tank. We were probably one of the last ones in the state to be using that. We upgraded in '91 to a extended aeration plant. We upgraded our flow from 262,000 to 400,000 gallons a day, and that's what we have now.
262 to 400, that's nearly double.
Right.
All right. Now, first of all, we're talking about water and sewer. We're down on the end of River Street, which is right across from the library where we're located. Library at Elm Street. We're right just down the hill from there. But we're only going to be talking today mainly about the I don't want to keep on to say sewage, but sanitary wastewater treatment plant. Is any part of our water system down here?
No, there isn't.
Nothing down in this area.
The only thing I have here is a service line like everybody else has to their own house.
Where you need some water.
Exactly.
We're in a small building about 12 by 14 or so, where it's warm because it's more comfortable here than it is outside. We have two other people here. Tell us who these people are here.
This is Bob Sullivan, the Superintendent of Public Works, and Ronald Houston, which he takes my place when either I'm on sick day or vacation or whatever. He operates the plant when I'm not here.
And the rest of the time he's working in the village, in and around, doing his thing. All right, we'll just take a short break with you, and we'll get over to talk to Bob Sullivan, because Bob Sullivan is relatively new in our community, about a year, I think. About a year here?
July 7th, 1992.
Okay, so where did you come from, Bob?
I came from Canaan, New Hampshire.
From where?
Canaan, New Hampshire.
Okay, and what did you do there?
I was what they call a road agent, which is basically the same idea as Superintendent of Public Works. We had a brand new water and sewer system there. It was an elected position there.
Was that a town or a village there?
Town.
Town. So it was a bigger area.
85 miles of road.
Oh, okay. So you had a lot to do there.
Yeah.
So you applied for the job. They had an opening here.
That's correct.
About that in early '92, and you applied along with other people.
That's correct.
You were interviewed.
I was interviewed 3.5 hours worth.
Did they find out all about you?
They tried. They tried to find out everything there was, and I know they made a lot of phone calls besides.
All right. We promise we won't take that long here. We're going to go get your interview. It was all recorded, and we're going to play that right now.
Oh.
Would you like that?
That would be just fine.
All right.
I think it would bore people, probably.
3.5 hours, that's a long time.
Yes, it is. They were very careful.
I can't imagine what they could ask you for 3.5 hours, but I don't want to know, but it's just, that's really a coverage.
Yeah, they were very thorough.
So you have a working knowledge of all the different things that have
water, wastewater, highways,
streets, sidewalks, the rest of the thing.
Everything.
Okay, how many people do you have working for you now?
4.
How many of those did you hire?
0.
Okay, they were all here.
They were all here.
And they taught you, or did you teach them and said?
Well, you always learn.
Learn.
If you spend a day you don't learn, you're in trouble.
Right. Okay. And your office is within the village.
Within the village.
Building there on
Right.
Main Street in the back. You have an office in there.
Mhm.
Okay. But you're out. You're a working superintendent. You're not. Would you?
Yes
say
and
that,
no.
huh?
You could safely say yeah, but I mean a lot of times I get confined to my desk.
Mm-hmm. Do you have special training for this before?
Yes, I've been to school for
Okay.
a lot of wastewater school. I've been to water schools. I've been to all type of training schools at UNH for highways and stuff like this.
For those people who don't talk in initial, UNH, of course, is University of New Hampshire. And you have a daughter. Is she going to the University of New Hampshire?
No, she's going to Keene State.
And a great basketball player, as I recall.
Just went over 1,000 points.
In college?
Yes.
Isn't that great? How tall is she? How big is she?
Oh, she's a little shorter than I am, probably 5'9", 5'10".
Okay. Have we seen her around the village at all? I know your wife is
very little.
She hasn't been here much.
No, no. And I don't know how much we will see of her.
Okay, well,
Her plans are
we're glad to know she's doing so well, and keep away from the injuries. That's the thing today.
Well, that's the last thing that
huh?
just happened to her. She just
She
threw
did.
a shoulder.
They play hard, don't
First time ever.
they? Okay, they play very hard.
Mhm.
All right, Robert, what's a normal, you work a 5-day week?
Yeah, at least.
40 hours, and then did you get overtime for that? How are they?
No, I'm on a salary basis. The deal is that it's 45 hours a week for me, and whatever else you put in, you put in.
Okay. When you have these 4 employees, you say,
Yes.
now Kevin is more, shall I say, is the manager, director down here at this
He is basically responsible for this facility.
wastewater here, all right? And now, is there someone in charge of the streets? I mean, do they each have their own responsibility some way, or is wherever they
No,
need
I
it?
basically, I usually take care of the streets as far as assigning who's doing what.
Okay, now the other 2 employees are who?
Larry Sorrell.
Yes.
And,
Chico?
Chico, everybody
Yes,
knows him
yes.
as Chico, and Terry Foy.
Terry Foy, okay. And Terry was a Champlainer? I guess they were all Champlainers. They're all Champlainers, I guess. You always have been. Okay, anything else that you can tell me in general before we get about the village? Are you involved in any of the talk, the contracts or anything about the water and sewer that we sell out to the town? You get involved in that?
To some extent, in an advisory capacity only. The other decisions are political decisions, and
Okay.
they're not mine.
All right, well, just take it we'll take a short break and be right back. You're watching Hometown Cable. The program is called What's Going On Here, and we're at the village employees, the superintendent of works and everything, and then Kevin Hicks and Ron Houston is also here. We're going to be talking to him in just a second. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back, Robert, and I wanted to let people know that we have a ample water supply and an ample wastewater capabilities, and we don't only use it for the village, but we sell some outside for our neighbors.
There are some town users.
Okay.
The mall, GLC up on the Ridge Road, and wastewater we don't supply to Locust Street at this point. That would, there is an area that we supply water outside the village there,
Yep.
but not
Okay,
wastewater.
Locust Street is that area by the old milk plant and out toward Perry's Mills. That's Locust Street for you people who are not from the village. But we rest assured, local people, that they don't get water at the same price that we buy as village users. They're paying at least twice as much in most cases.
Twice as much as...
And maybe more if you're a business out there, possibility.
That's
But, and there is enough capacity to do that. It's not going to affect us at all.
We have plenty of water capacity. Wastewater capacity, we are pushing it a bit. We're trying to make up the difference by correcting problems, inefficiencies in our system, by getting rid of the I&I and water that's not polluted water that does not have to come into the wastewater plant.
Okay. We're not here to talk about whether that's a good idea to sell water or not. That's not our problem at all. We're here. It's just that it's being done, right? And it is working. All right.
I&I is?
I&I.
Well, I&I is multifold. Infiltration would be water that comes in through the existing pipes. Through the village, there are many places where the lateral that comes from your house to the sewer main would be a vitrified clay. Vitrified clay has a bell joint every 2 feet, and it can possibly leak every 2 feet. We'd like to see a lot of this replaced. There is a lot of places in the village that still has the old vitrified clay sewer pipe. Again, that connection is put together every 2 feet. It has the opportunity to just draw water in out of the ground, and we just don't need to treat what almost amounts to well water.
What you're saying, when you say leak, you don't mean leak out, you mean leak in.
Leak in.
In other words, you don't want that extra water.
We don't want that extra
It's not that our
water
sewer
in.
water is going out into the ground to cause any problems.
No.
It's the other way. It's
The other
coming
way
in.
around.
Because it's kind of a siphon action, I guess,
Well, you have a void area. The pipe is empty,
Yep.
and the water is going to go to this void area.
Okay. Well, I think we should take a couple of minutes to explain about a letter we all got a year ago saying that if there were any, and you know there are, some sewer, not sewer, but
Sump
pumps or even eaves troughs going into the system, coming down here where it has to be treated, and it doesn't have to be treated because it's good, clean water, that you were going to put a stop to that and there's going to be some problems. Like, tell us about that.
Okay. Problems, it causes us problems. The water that's coming out of your cellar really, by law, does not belong in there. The state of New York many years ago decided that that was not the way to go, that you were not supposed to put this water into the sewer system. In the original sewer law for the village of Champlain also said the same thing. For one reason or another, it was the most obvious place to put it, and people went ahead and did it. Well, it cost us a tremendous amount of money and a lot of effort to treat water that does not need to be treated. And that's what we're trying to remove from this system. Eventually, someday down the line, every street will have a drainage system, a storm drain system. Good, clean water can go into that storm drain system. At present, you can put it into the ditches until we get to that point. That's the ultimate objective, is to get this.
Yeah, and not only have you asked him, but you've told him to think about it in the system. And if it isn't, there could be penalties.
We're not looking to push the penalty bit right now. What we're trying to do is get voluntary compliance. And many people have voluntarily complied. We're also asking you if you know where these go. If not, we may try to help find out where they go, so that we can solve the problems ahead of time.
You have any pressure at all in helping or asking these people to do these things? You're kind of serious about it, obviously.
We're very serious.
You're very serious about it. So if you have any questions, call the village about that. All right. Water problems. We had problems with water. Discoloration, dirt, and so forth. We haven't heard much of that at the village meetings in the past year. Is that pretty well been taken care of?
I hope so. We have not heard many complaints. When we hear complaints, we try to deal with them. A lot of our problems were from iron that's in the water because we're drawing it from deep wells. The iron in the water, when it comes in contact with the chlorine, precipitates out. It gets in the pipes. If you don't have a comprehensive flushing system and go around and close valves and route your water around so that you can draw this residue out of the pipes, if you don't do this periodically, you're going to have troubles.
If you have people that are having trouble, you still want to know about it.
I want to know.
You want to know. They are trying to hide from it, all right? Now, two things we're going to get back to Kevin. He's going to explain this whole operation and what's out here. But before we do that, there are two kinds of matter that you have to, type of things you have to get rid of in this village. One is the sewer, and one is drain waters that are in the ditches and so forth. Now, how is that done in this village?
The drain water in the village is done mostly through open ditches with a few of the old storm drains that are still, there. And by and large, the storm drains still work.
And the new storm drains they put in on Main Street
On
this
Main
year,
Street,
right?
that's the state.
And that goes directly into the river?
Into the river.
Okay. And that's all that goes in the river? Those
That's
stuff.
all supposed to.
All right. Everything else that is in this village, a disposable that would go down a toilet, that would go into your sink, your anywhere at all, your washing machine, has to come through
It has to come through the plant.
the plant here. Okay,
That's
and
correct.
that's the separate pipe. That's a closed system that comes down here.
Exactly.
All right. Anything else you want to tell me about that until we get to River Street here? Then River Street we're going to take on with the plant. We'll get into Kevin. I think he's had. Has Kevin had more training on that than you have? You're also
in some-
conversant with that
yeah.
as much as he is.
Yeah,
we'll get into him.
in a
He's
lot
gonna
of
explain
areas.
that to us.
Yeah, he is.
All right.
He's very.
All right. Is there anything else we should know about before we get to River Street where all this comes in this area?
I think we're.
All right. How many different pipes carry it from the other side of the river to this side to our sewer plant?
Well, we have. I think we have 8 subsections.
That cross the river?
No, there's 8 subsections.
Okay.
Crossing the river, you have. We've got the whole. If we were at my office, I could
Yeah.
show you. There's more than 2. There's at least 3. There's one coming down from Main
Okay.
Street. There's one coming down from Church Street, and there's one coming from the French Village area.
And they all gather into one place to cross the river? Or do they,
Then they.
there's 2 river lines that cross the river.
Yeah, but okay,
Oh,
one
2
comes
that
from
cross
French
the river,
Village.
okay.
Across the river.
All right.
But then they all join in.
Okay, there's
subsections.
1 on this side or 2 on this side of the river? 2 on this side. So there's 4 outlets coming into your plant.
No,
There's one
only
main line coming down River Street, that's all.
Okay, so they all go into that main line once they
Right.
come down here. How big is that line when it gets here?
That's a 10-inch line.
10-inch line, okay.
See, it's broken up into subsections. You really
All
have
right,
to see
okay,
how
all
it's
right.
done.
So we're going to find out what happens to that. We've been through the plant, which I enjoyed very much, by the way, in Rouse's Point. I learned an awful lot there. One thing they had that we don't have here, and that was heat. They're heated inside of their building, and they're not here. This little building is heated, and that's why we're in here. We're going to go out where it's cold, right? You get in here as much as possible?
That's right.
You bet, because you got to check these gauges, right?
When it's cold out, I'm in here as much as possible.
All right. But before we do that, Ron, come over here a second. Tell us about Ron. You said you're from Champlain originally?
No, this is from West Jersey.
Oh, wait. All right. How long you been working for the village?
Almost 13 years.
Yeah.
I've been working for him.
And you're a man of all trades. You do. You run the machines. You
I do everything, just like everybody else does.
Uh-huh.
No,
jack of all trades.
yeah, I go train master of none.
It's not always warm out there, is it?
No, it's not.
Huh?
No, it's
Uh,
always cold.
Would you have any? If someone saw you out there and you're working real hard and you're in a hole in the street and someone wants to come out and give you a cup of coffee, is there any problem about that?
Nope.
No, absolutely not. You're not. There's no. It's not like a job for the government where you can't take bribes. That's not a bribe. I shouldn't say bribe, but a cup of coffee would be nice if you see these guys working out in front because they get cold. They get very, very cold. Maybe you got 2 sets of gloves. You can warm one up while they're out there because
Yep.
it's cold out there. And people have complained about some of the snow on the streets. I'm not here for that today, but we don't have a blower. You can only push snow so much because when it gets 3 and 4 feet, there's no place to push it anymore.
We've also lost our sidewalk snow plow.
You have lost it. That's why we haven't seen it the past few days.
correct.
All right. You ever thought about a blower? We really need a blower. We're getting to the point we need a blower for those streets.
I believe so.
All right, a small riding blower that we.
Something- Well, we have a little one, but
Yeah.
just isn't enough.
I assume at 5 o'clock or whenever you're done, you must be glad to get home in the warm, huh?
Oh yeah, you better believe it.
They earn their
Yeah,
money
but-
out there, and if you see these people and you think they're doing a good job on the streets, tell them. And you don't only complain. It's nice to get to hear from people, but not only on complaints. They work very, very hard, and and they can't be all over. They try to get to it as soon as possible. Anything else you want to tell me? Have you been away to schools also?
I've been to water school. That's about it. What I learned here is through Kevin, and if I get stuck on it, he's not around. I get hold of Bob.
Now, Kevin goes to school, comes back and teaches the rest, right?
Yep.
What happened to you this morning? You've got to wear a red head, and these other guys got blue hats on, and you got a blue jacket. What happened?
I don't know. I guess he forgot to.
He forgot to bring you one of those
one.
hats? What is that hat, by the way? It says Hicks Auction Services. Is that a relative of yours or something?
That's me.
That's you.
That's me.
And they allow you to wear that in a village like that? I mean, you're on TV. Can you do that, Calvin? Is he going to pay for this ad? He's going to pay for this, isn't he? Huh?
I sent my donation in already.
Oh, we know you did. Tell us something about Hicks Auction Service for a minute.
I've been auctioning on a charity basis since the age of 14. And about 8-9 months ago, I finally decided to talk to my wife and said, I think it's time to make a little money at it. So we started it up in April, and we did our first big auction in October. We ended up landing 2 there, and we possibly got a couple more lined up for April, May. So.
You don't have an auction house on a weekly basis or anything like that. Have you thought of that for the future?
Yes, I have, but I have many things going on right now in the auction house. I'll have to wait.
Well, now, isn't it also true that this village employee don't necessarily live? He and Art Bowker changed places. You see, Art works in Rouse's Point, lives in Champlain, and this guy works here and lives in Rouse's Point, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. What brought that about? Careful now. You're being heard. Anything you want to tell me about that?
My wife has always been in the village type of person, and she always, when we first got married, we lived in Rouse's Point, and she liked it, and I was always a country person. We went to the country, and now we're back in the village. So.
Back in the village. Okay, well, you're here available all the time for... There's not somebody here 24 hours a day.
No, I'm here from 7 to 3:30, and unless something happens, I'm here Saturday, Sunday.
Does anybody monitor this? Do you have any kind of signals that tell you something's wrong down
If
here?
anything breaks down, there's an automatic chatterbox computer that calls the house. If I'm not available, it just goes down the line until somebody answers it back.
Okay. All right, we'll take another break. We'll be back. We're going to see where we're going to start. We're going to tell us about this building. There's lots of tests, as you know. They have to test the water when it leaves to make sure that it meets the state standards, right?
Correct.
To get back into the river, it goes out a lot cleaner than it came in. I don't mean we used to get water from the river for drinking and so forth, and it wasn't as clean as it goes out now. But now we have wells and other things. Are you also involved in the water system?
I carry a water treatment plant license. I take care of the plant in the weekend.
Who does it during the week?
Bob generally does it. Not one of the other guys will do it.
We'll get in there in the spring because we're certainly not going to go out there today. We want to see those pumps, and everything seems to be working very well out there. But please stay tuned. And if you're not a patron already, please become one and help Hometown Cable with these and other programs on every day. 7 days a week. It's 1 o'clock, 4:30. 8 p.m., midnight, and 8 the following morning. 5 chances to see the lovely face here in the advertising for Hicks Auction Service. Kevin Hicks. See, right in the middle it says Kevin Hicks, Chief Operator, but that's not the important part. The important part is all around here. What is this, Kevin? What is this, a gallery you have here?
Well, that's my wife and my 2 children.
Uh-huh. What's their names?
My daughter is Carissa, and my son is Joshua. My wife is Julie.
Okay, and then you got a bigger picture here. Do they charge you to keep pictures like that here in this office?
Not yet.
But it keeps you company?
That's right.
All right. Now, you'll notice also on this wall back here, we'll probably saw it over our heads, there's 5 certificates. On that side, 8, that's 12 certificates. Are these mostly yours?
They're all mine.
And these are different schools or things you've attended?
Those
Are they Ames?
2 of them are, one's a wastewater treatment plant license, and one's a water license, and the rest of them are schools I attended to keep updated on regulations and different stuff.
All right, now we see a lab type things over here. Whenever I see flasks and things, I'm smart enough to know there's some kind of a lab thing going on here. What goes on in this area?
Hey,
Why don't you get over here so you can tell me, then you can be on camera instead of me.
I do daily testing every day. This year I do my settable solids on, which you take influence sample, that's the raw sewage coming into the plant. Take a sample of it, see how much settables you got coming into the plant. Take an effluent sample, which is the treated effluent after it's gone through all the plant that heads to the river. Make sure you're not violating permit. I run pH every day. I do DOs, which is dissolved oxygen in the water. I do settleometer tests on my aeration tanks. I'm capable of doing mixed liquors and suspended solids, but my BODs and suspended solids are all...
Yeah, mixed liquors, got it. Make sure that's not something you're drinking here. What's this mixed liquor deal?
Mixed liquor suspended solids is a test you do on your aeration tanks to find out how much solids you actually have in the tanks.
All right. Now, if you had 100 gallons coming in here right now of sewage mixed with water and washing machine water comes in right now.
Yep.
When is that water likely to leave this plant and go back into the river? Give or take. An hour? 10 hours?
We're probably looking at anywhere
2 days?
from 12 to 18 hours.
So it's here about 12 to 18 hours. Then the solids which are siphoned off or something done, you'll explain that to us when we get out there. Then the water, as it's purified and cleaned and whatever, then it goes back in the river.
Correct.
And goes downstream.
We're looking at about anywhere from 95 to 98% removal in this plant right here.
All right.
Which Permit requires 85, so we're well above. The plant is doing a tremendous job.
That's probably cleaner water going out than if you went out and took some right out of the river as it comes down.
Well, I often tell people that.
Well, I would think.
It is.
You know, they claim a good sewer system or a septic tank system. When the water starts into the leach field, not that you can drink it, but it's pretty clear and clean then. That if everything's working right, you know, that supposedly. All right. Now, do you have any automatic gauges in here that keep track of anything, like we saw?
Well, the other thing we did have was the flow meter, but
that's the flow meter.
That has since broke down for the third time, and we opted to hold off on fixing it.
All right, now a flow meter, if you remember, if you saw our show in Rouse's Point, after a big rainstorm, and when the amount of flow is doubled, now they know there's not an extra 2,000 people came in the village. That's not regular drainage water coming through. That's the water from the sump pumps and the drains off the roof. That
Exactly.
will tell you that there's a lot of them in the system, correct?
Yes.
All right, and that's why, and then you were treating twice as much, and as a result, a lot of this, if it's full, it's going to drain off before it gets treated.
Exactly.
Exactly. Then it's not just a matter of money. You just can't treat it that fast.
Yeah, we violate permit, and then we get the nasty grams from DEC, and that's the whole reason I'm trying to get these sub pumps out.
Okay.
Reduce the I&I coming in, and
what do you do about a person that he has no place to put it?
that is
Our church has got a problem right now. There's no place to get from the church to the
found a
road.
place.
You did find it. They put it in somewhere. I understand it was going into a drainage that wasn't working anymore.
Oh, it
Yeah,
does. It does.
It does work. Okay, so we have settled it now.
we
Okay.
settled that. Yeah.
Okay, there may be others like the downtown. What do you do downtown on Main Street?
It's very, very rough.
There's no
The
place
state
to
of
put
New
it.
York would not permit us to allow people to put it into their drainage system.
Yeah.
But that's the state of New York, that's DOT, that's not the village of Champlain.
But you have to maintain those too.
No,
Oh, no.
that,
You got a swimming pool downstairs or something? I hear pumps running. I hear
the,
water.
That's the old piping we have left from 63 that's going to be changed this spring.
What is that water? What is it?
It's an old flush valve system that was in back from 63, and that has since.
if you turn the light on.
Let me just, like to hear this. Sure you can hear water running. Well, you can't anymore. Now we're going to pump started. So this is a new building that was built on the secondary. It was in here right along.
This building was the original building from 63.
Okay, so in 63, before 63, I understand in this village there were private sewer systems that came down Oak Street and one came down Church Street from the top of the hill that drained right into the river. Most other people went in the river or had their own septic system in this. Right?
Yep.
Then they said we all got to get in the system starting in 63, and they installed, and they're mostly in the middle of the road. The
Majority of them are.
and there's some in the back, like between Spruce Street and Church Street. It's down in the back, I think. Right,
Right.
there is one there. Okay, and it came down here. Then did you have anything here at all? Right.
In 63, this building was here, the small drying bed in the primary Imhoff tank.
All right. We're going to talk about these Imhoff because that's just a name to pronounce in the first place. We will explain what happens. Is there anything else in here you want to talk to us about before we go outside? Because we can't go in and out with the camera. You get condensation. But and I'm not anxious to go out, but we're going to go out. And you can show us what happens. All of the flow that comes down, does it go through this building at all?
Exactly.
It does go through here.
Right below, directly below my desk,
Yes.
is a pit that's 20 feet deep. All the flow comes through a muffin monster, which I got off right now because if I had it on, you wouldn't be able to hear yourself thinking here. It comes through this muffin monster that grinds up. It's a big grinder, grinds up all the solids. From there, it's pumped through two 14.5 horsepower pumps to the system to be treated.
So nothing coming down here goes to the river. It all goes in the back where we're going to see.
Exactly.
But it goes under here. That's why you had your flow meter here.
Yep.
Correct. All right. And what here? Do you heat your lunch here in this oven or
Well,
something?
that's
What
my
is
oven.
this?
That's the oven to do a couple of the tests that I have to do,
Uh-huh.
and that's my dishwasher that washes all my glassware and everything.
How much time do
Explain
you...
that, Ken. Explain the test that you do and why you have to use the.
The oven is used to get our percent solids and our mixed liquors. And it has to be dried to a constant weight, and then
Remove all the moisture.
Okay.
So
That's how you- weigh it out.
Just salt.
Yep.
weigh it out in the balance and plug out your numbers, and get your totals.
And they got scales, and you got everything else in here. Then that's another testing thing over there.
That's a cool. It's a desiccator that cools down the dishes prior to being weighed.
So you see that this is all tested. It has to be done. It's not just the old days are gone, folks, and that's why and if you've got double the water coming in and the same amount of solids because of the sump pumps and everything else. And my sump pump was in my, because I didn't used to, but it did. Once I got rid of my septic tank, I had a septic tank in the backyard, and I drained it into there for a long time. So now what I've done, I bypassed that septic tank and we're right into my leach field. That's where my water is going now, that I get from the basement in the spring when we have heavy rain for several rains. You know, we had a lot of rain all at one time. All right, anything else in here we should know, Kevin, before we go out?
No, just that there's more to it than just flushing the toilet, believe me.
Well, that's the thing. And
Something you take for granted.
if somebody has any questions that they want, their personal question, they can call you down here.
Yep.
And you may not get the answer you want, but he'll give you the best answer he can give you at the time. What he tells you will be right, but it may not be what you want to hear, but he'll give you the answer. You know, they'll give you an answer, but they can't guarantee you're going to like the answer. That's a lot of things like that, correct?
That's life.
That's life, exactly. But you will get an answer. I tell people that on the committees I'm on. If you ask me a question, you'll get an answer in 48 hours. But you may not like my answer, but I will answer your question, and I'll get the answer for you.
Well, if I'm not here, the answer machine here, and I can be reached at 298-3819. So.
Right. And if the answer machine answers, he'll be just as helpful as Kevin is.
Right.
We'll be right back. Thanks for tuning in. And it's nice to know these people so you can talk like this. As you know, we don't have the most serious program in the world, but we're very serious that you know what's happening. And we do it maybe in a little jovial mood at times because I feel more comfortable that way. And most of the people I speak to, I know, or I feel like I know them. And we've known Kevin for a long time. And I'm one of his favorite customers at the bazaar when you have the auction, huh?
Yeah.
Thanks much for tuning in. All right, what we're looking at now is an overall picture of the area down here, and we're looking east. The top of the picture is east. That's the river on your right that is flowing up, right? It's flowing up that area. Right now, there's 3 tanks over here on the right. What are those?
Them tanks were brought in to
5 of them.
There's 3 of them.
Okay.
That was a big tank, and the other 2 are small. That was brought in to empty the sludge that was in the existing Imhoff tank.
The Imhoff is the round one, right in the middle of the picture to the right.
Exactly. And
okay.
That was brought in to empty that for storage, and then we got rid of it through a company out of Massachusetts, Hydropress, which came in and pressed all the sludge, and we landfilled at that time.
You see 2 big buildings that looks like they have squares directly in front of you on your picture. Just to the right, next to the tanks, a little white building with a black roof. That's where we are at this time.
Correct.
All right, now, when the water, all your sludge and your things coming down, go under this building and then it's pumped out after it's been ground, where does it go from there?
It heads right to the big tank.
The round tank?
No, heads to the big square tank.
Off on the left.
And that is divided down the center, and it's fed equally to both sides.
And then it's in this open pit, so to speak.
They're both.
Now it's got a roof on it.
No, there's no roof.
Still open.
That's
okay.
Open, and they're aeration tanks.
Right now, doesn't that freeze?
Yeah, there is some freezing, as we'll see when we
And
get
it's
up
agitated all the time.
there. It's being agitated 24 hours a day.
All right. We'll explain more of that out there. Then the little building up on the right further to the...
That is the blower building, and to the right of the blower building, the white unit you see is our backup generator.
Okay. And then the big buildings down below?
The big buildings down below are sludge drying beds. The biggest one was built during the upgrade, and the small one was the existing building from '63.
So once it leaves those open tanks, it's brought, the solids are brought down to one of these 2 tanks to dry.
Well, they're brought to the 2 smaller tanks at the head of this plant.
On the right, okay.
Them are called digesters. From the digesters, it is gravity fed to the drying beds.
Okay, so there's no handling anything here physically.
Well, there is now, because we've changed the system, and we'll get to that after. We no longer use the drying beds. We've gone with a system called DrayMad system, which bags all our sludge, and when we get to that point, I'll...
All right, you see the blacktop going all around the system. Anything else you want to tell me about this while we're looking at it? We're going to go out and we'll kind of identify where we are as we're talking. We're going to go from here where next? Right to the tank?
We're going to go right on to the aeration
open tanks.
Yep.
Out in the open weather, and you're going to see our face turn from a nice color like you now see it to a bright red. You're right. You all agree with that?
Mine's like that most of the time.
Okay, we're out in the cold. We're on top of the tanks, right?
Aeration tanks.
Aeration tanks, and you can see the water bubbling, and this water looks very dirty. So when it comes in where this end or
It comes in right here.
right here. This is the dirtiest one right here.
Along this center wall, there's two 8-inch pipes that feed both tanks
Okay.
equally.
They're underwater.
Okay, and they run the full length of this. And they go
Exactly.
either way.
Yep.
All right, and then this water is moving all the time,
It's
And-
aerated.
aerated, and then there's an important ingredient here that we don't see that's there. That's bacteria.
That's bacteria.
And the bacteria is digesting some solids and
Yes, it's easy. It's eating it up. The air aids in keeping them alive. That's why the dissolved oxygen is so important, that he keeps those levels.
and these cold don't mean a thing to that bacteria. They're still all right.
Yes, it does.
That
They
slows
don't.
them down a little bit.
They're
All
not
right.
as efficient.
And now, one thing I can think of as we're out here, there's open things along here. There's water. This is not a place to let your children come and play. If you have any idea that your children are in this area, make sure that they are not here. There's a fence all around it to keep it protected, but kids do try, but make sure that your children do not come in this area. It's a dangerous place
That's correct.
for you as well as anybody else, because it's open. You're walking along and you can just slip off and you're in.
Well, I've been in this tank head first before.
You
and,
have. Was that fun?
Well, if it wouldn't have been for Ronnie being here, I probably wouldn't be here myself.
Wow, wow. Okay, now when all this is running, and is it the same in all tanks?
Yes.
All right, and then gradually, as it cleans up and is better, it comes off into this middle sections here?
See, each section, each module clarifies its own waste in its different area.
Okay, right here, you see that little half-round lifesaver right down there? A skimmer? That water going down is as clean as it's going to get in this system. It's going down, and it runs down to the river from there.
Well, that round skimmer you see right there skims the solids off the top that heads back to the tank. What actually brings the finished product to the river is a 4-inch perforated pipe that runs down the center of this into an effluent box that sends it out.
Oh, all right, so the water is down below. The water, it's not this water that's
Well, that's
going
about
up.
4 to 6 inches below the top of the ice that you see right there.
I can kind of see something there. This is not the easiest job either. I talk about the streets and digging. This is no picnic out here either.
No, not a thing.
It's not a place to have a picnic.
Problems happen on the coldest days of the year.
And you can't delegate much of this either, can you? You're it here. You can see a pipe. You see now. You can see a little. That's the perforated pipe.
That's the 4-inch perforated pipe that carries the finished product to the river.
You can see that is relatively clean compared to the agitation you see over here, and so that as fast as it comes in, it's got to go off the same speed or it'd overflow.
Exactly.
All right. And then the solids now, the solids that are left and have been screened or whatever going to the tanks.
What happens here is there's 2 airlifts right here
Yes.
that pump over an hour a day that sucks the solids out of the aeration tanks into the digesters.
And these are the digesters over here.
These 2 small compartments on the end, and they freeze over every year, and that's a problem we're planning on dealing with this year.
Now,
And,
but is it not froze underneath?
It's froze about 8 inches thick.
Okay, so underneath is where it's being fed out. Correct?
Exactly.
All right. Now, as we look over here very quickly, there's that round tank we saw in the picture we showed you. The little gray building is where we were. And you said some of this was here in '63 in the beginning. What are the original buildings?
63, the original round tank, the Imhoff tank was here. My office building was here, and this small greenhouse, a
Right
small
here.
drying bed was here.
Okay, that's where it comes from. These digesters goes over and it dries up there and makes into a dust or
Well,
a powdered.
a cake.
A cake.
They'll give you a cake, yeah.
Yep.
Not
okay.
one you want to eat, but
No. Well, my voice is much softer and better now because we're inside again, Kevin. When we come in, we saw a lot of green. Where are we?
this is the blower building. We have 2 40-horse blowers that we alternate on a monthly basis. One runs at a time. And we shut it down, service it, start the other one back up. This sends all the air to the aeration tanks to keep the bugs happy.
That keeps bubbling like that.
Yeah.
That's what we saw. It
Yeah.
also stops it from freezing too,
Exactly.
right? The aeration. And that's generated here. Now, it's going out the direction of where down like that it goes, not the white one?
No, the white one's the intake from outside.
Uh-huh.
The directional follows down and out through the pavement, up the little ramp, and feeds the tanks.
Is there a lot of mechanical problems with something like this?
We haven't any mechanical problem with the blower at all, knock on wood. The only problems we do have with them is the filter elements, which I just changed
Filter down here.
2 weeks ago. and they'll usually last perfect through the winter time because there isn't many bugs flying. But for some reason in the summertime, the hornets and the wasps love them.
Come in that in there.
And,
There's two of them there, right? One on
yeah.
top of the other. All right. Now, if you, it's very easy. We flush our toilet, our automatic washers. You throw the clothes in, you push the button, and it runs. But there's an awful lot more between there and when it goes back in the river than you could possibly realize. You saw some of it out there when we were there. It's not a lot of people working, but there's a lot of stuff, and it's cold out here. It's not the most pleasant job in the world. But you're a real specialist in this, obviously.
Well, it's something I decided to get into, and like I said earlier, I do some days regret it because of all the regulations and stuff you got to keep up with and all the paperwork. But I enjoy it.
And you remember this: when this doesn't work, we got problems, right? Do they have a stipulation? Anything can be done, either Kevin or Bob, that if this were to break down, you just can't shut down the plant. People are still bringing more matter. Do you have a day or two to send it raw into the river?
Very little time. Very little time. You have got to react very quickly.
Yeah. So you got to get it. You've got to get something done, right?
Right
away.
Immediately.
But you can't do it any faster than you can. If something breaks down.
It has happened to us.
Oh yeah.
It has happened to us, and when you do have that situation, you have to report immediately to DEC exactly what you're doing, how you're going to react, what you're going to do to correct the situation, and what you're doing to alleviate the flow coming in at that moment.
I can't emphasize enough, and I've heard it, and I may have said it. Certainly, I didn't mean to say it, but I may have said it. What are those guys doing? Where the hell are they today? If you pardon the expression, I should have said that. Where are they today? How come they're not out here doing something? Look at the roads; they're all ice. Where's the sand? There's only 4 people plus Bob out there, and there's a lot of work. And give them a little bit of credit too. This is not an easy job. You're out there in the worst weather. That's when you're needed.
That's always.
Right.
One of the things that you mentioned before, and I would ask people, is that when they pass the men, when they're working on the road, and I know they're a pain in the neck when they're out in the street, there's inconvenience you're driving by and stuff, please slow down. They're sometimes trying to do something, they're trying to accomplish something. It may not look exactly like everything, the house is on fire, but we're doing something. And give them a break.
And even though you don't think they're working out there sometimes. There's a lot of things, and it's not a new village. We don't have all new pipes, and we don't have new streets.
You can't afford to have everything.
You can't afford. Now, you have something new here. What's this? What are you replacing?
Well, this isn't a replacement. This is in case one of the influent pumps go down. We did have a problem with it last year, and we replaced one just like this. And this is a spare pump.
Where does that go? Underneath?
This goes down in
the
that
building
20.
to pump it into the tank.
Right.
All right.
And we had that situation last year and replaced it in about 8 hours, 9 hours.
Yep.
And if you have to wait till it comes, it takes that much longer. You got what extra?
Well, you'd have to. It took us almost 3 months to get this.
Oh, all right, all right. Is this computerized at all?
The system itself is all computerized over there.
In there, yeah.
What happens every day? It sends the system into a backwash, which cleans all the settling tubes and everything, and closes it up. And when that system is being operated, there's no effluent that goes to the river at all because it loosens everything up, which would send dirty effluent. But it settles back down, and then it actually kicks it back on, and we start producing clean effluent again to the river.
I come in this nice building, and it's nice and comfortable, and I find out that they're treating their equipment better than they do their employees in this village.
I get treated pretty decent.
But it's nicer in here. You don't have to be out there a lot, but you got to go out and check. And
well, any problems we do have generally happen in the winter.
And they're outside.
Never fails.
Well, listen, that's when your car don't start too, right?
Right.
The cold makes problems, right, Rod? I see you shaking your head. You agree with that over there? Absolutely. All right, anything else we should know about in here?
Well, this is the main electrical feed system that comes through here prior to going anywhere else.
Okay, so this controls electric anywhere else too?
Exactly.
All right. Is this a 230? Do I know what I'm talking about?
440.
440. That is a 440.
This is the emergency, part of the emergency system here, right?
That's right. When the electricity goes down, you got something that starts.
That automatically.
It's a backup generator. It automatically, when the power goes out, 30 seconds, the backup generator comes on.
I asked if they're computerized. Look at the panels
Look at the
in there.
circuit board in there.
Yep, circuit board in there, and this is the. So you, Bob, and most of your employees, they're electricians, they're plumbers, they're blacktop operators, a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything.
Repairing machinery. You repair your own machinery, much of it,
Very
in
much.
the garage. Who's your main man on repairing?
Well,
They all do it.
yeah, everybody is pretty even on that. We try to have everybody does something.
Well, you weren't here several years ago when they used to keep that equipment all outside. Now your plow is on the inside. You can at least get the snow off it, right? And it'll get warm again, right? Years ago they didn't have a place inside, correct? When they were down, when they had the village downstairs, I don't think they had a place inside.
I don't go back that far.
Don't make people think you're that young. Come on, you've been here 14 years?
I've been here 9.
9. Oh, I beg your pardon. All right.
Ronnie's been here 13.
13. When they in the old building when you were here? Yes, they were down.
I was still be in the same building.
Same building 13 years ago? Is it that long since they? Okay.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yes, it sure does. All right, anything else? You're going to start this up for us. Let's see
Sure,
what
you wanna hear it?
these things. And then, of course, out there now it's not bubbling. That's building up. How many revolutions on that?
How many
You
revolutions?
have any idea? It's got to be really spinning, huh?
1725, but I might be wrong. 3525.
35, and how many horsepower here?
40.
40?
40 horse.
40 horsepower, there's 2 of them.
This is the amount of amperage you're drawing. This, by figuring out how many amps you're drawing gives you a clue as to how many cubic feet of air you're actually producing.
Now, you alternate them once a week or
Once a month.
once a month you change to the other one.
Right.
And if any repairs, you lubricate and so forth when it's down.
He lubricates once a week, isn't it? Running or not?
All right, that's what we got inside, and that's what happens on the inside. Very important part that you don't think about sometimes, but this is what drives that air. You got to move that around out there. We'll be back. Okay, we're just outside. We're at the old sludge bed area. Is that the right name? All right, the drying area. Okay, now this is under glass inside. Let's get awfully warm in here in the summer when it's all those glass.
It does, yeah.
And now you have a door at each end. And when that's you can go in and remove it.
That's so you can load the truck from either end.
And now, how do you load it? With a front end loader? Or do you use shovels or?
We fork it by hand into the bucket of the tractor. From there, the tractor down.
You
to
do.
the truck.
All right.
The tractor can't get all the
All
way
right.
in.
Now there's 3 pipes coming out here to these different sections. So what would happen is that the solids would be, and they're wet, of course. It's a solid. It's pushed. How does it come on here with an auger? or-
No, it's gravity fed from the digester.
Okay, and it would come here. And it would drop out onto the, and then you have to spread it by hand.
Nope, it flows out by
It
itself.
flows out, and it would go across, and it's about how deep here? 3 inches, 4
That
inches.
right there is probably about 4.5 to 5 inches.
Inches, and it's dried out. Now that is dried solids, freeze dried here, solids, and then normally you got to find a place to dispose of this.
We used to landfill up until October 8th, and the county no longer takes sludge in their landfills. So we decided to go with a different system where we bag it.
And then what do you do with it?
That-
It's in the bag.
we have
You're
it-
storing the bags now?
We're storing right now, but we have a couple options available, and
It's given us 18 months to come up with an absolute solution.
Okay. And you're using the word solution there wrong because it's dry. We've been talking solution all morning, Robert. God, don't confuse me.
Well, a different type of
All
solution.
right. Although this is solid, there's no chance for disease or anything like that. There's no bacteria is not a problem.
Well, you wouldn't want to eat it.
No. But I mean, but being around it wouldn't be a problem.
No.
Okay. And then, how long? If this were empty right now, are you going to use this anymore? I say you're not going to be using it.
possibly not,
All right.
depending on which way we go.
You
It's an
don't.
option.
You don't clean out. You don't get out all 3 pipes at once, correct? You one or the other.
I feed out of any pipe I want to.
Okay, but okay, if this were clean, completely clean,
Yep.
out, and you're going to start to feed in here now from your digester, how many days, weeks, or months would it take? Would you have space for here, give or take?
A week?
A week?
About a week and you're done.
All in here?
Yeah.
I thought you said you got about a barrel a day.
of absolutely
Dry.
dry.
Oh, when it comes here, it's not dry.
There is still moisture in that.
Ah.
The percents of solids, that's what when we talk percent solids, water takes up so much space.
So then if you're telling me that only a week in here, you'd have to be removing something every day.
That's correct.
You see
Because there's only 6 sections here.
what the biggest problem is, it has to be 20% solids.
At the,
To landfill it
To
or
landfill
compost
or to
it.
compost or
you
anything.
mean 20%?
Okay.
It's 100% here, isn't it now?
No.
It's still a lot
it
of
would
liquid?
be much more condensed
Oh, yeah?
than that.
It's
Yeah.
froze.
Yeah. So there's still moisture in this.
Sure.
That's probably, well, it's probably, no, it isn't close to 20. It's probably 16,
Yeah.
17%, give or take.
As you go by on Elm Street, going by the library, by the elementary school, if you look down to the south, to your right if you're going toward Rouse's Point, or to your left the other way, and you look down and you can see these buildings down here now that there's no leaves. The rest of the year it's completely hidden. You don't even know it's here with all the leaves, but you can look down and see this. This is where this activity takes place. It's not a smell, there's no odor problem in the village, is there?
It's a pretty good system.
I know
for
Plattsburgh
odor.
complained for so long, but you haven't had that, any complaints that I know of.
Thank
Well,
God
we had the initial complaint when we first started up, but that was because we introduced old primary sludge into
Oh.
a secondary system.
Maybe it was just imagination sometimes too, you know. You figure
No.
it's gotta.
No.
It was
No.
there for about a week.
All
We
right.
haven't had a
So
problem.
at this time, you haven't put anything in here in the past several months?
No, the last time I drew in here was about a month ago.
Okay. And we're not going to do it today. We're going to go next building and show you where the 3 times the size of the building and the other area where they're doing the drying now. You're tuned to Hometown Cable. You're watching What's Going On Here. Bob Venn, Calvin Castine, Kevin Hicks, Ron Hewson, and Bob Sullivan. I'll get it out. All employees from the village, and we're down at the. I always want to give me the right name again. I always want to say the sewer, but it's not the sewer.
Wastewater treatment.
Wastewater treatment plant.
There you go. You may want to walk around back.
Okay. It's warmer in here, but it's not warm. It's a cold day. This is again. It's tough out here. Now, what are we looking at here as we look in behind the cement wall?
That's dried sludge that was put on in November.
Okay, and is it completely dry? It can still dry because nowadays it's freezing.
Well, that's about 20%. She's ready to be sent away.
At this point, it looks a lot like a black sawdust nearly.
Well, the top probably inch is powdery, but the bottom, the rest of it is cake type.
As I look inside here, you know, and it was probably about 3 inches, and it dries up. Now this was completely across until it started to shrink, right? As it dried.
We put it
This
in
one as high as those, almost, well, no, just shy of those doors.
What was it when you put it
Well,
in?
you can see the level.
That's where it was,
See
and
that
it
level?
shrunk that
That's
much.
what it shrinks to.
the dewaters.
Dewaters is for sure.
Well, it only comes in at 2%.
2% solids.
Right.
When they make paper, by the way, it's only like 44/100ths of 1% solid. The rest of it's all water when they're making paper. This is only 2% solid when it comes in here, and right now it's what, 20%? You
Right.
figure? So there's still a lot of moisture in there. All right, as we go down here, you can see some of the bags. You say you're bagging it now, but you're not picking it up. I understand you're not picking it up and putting it in bags from the field.
No.
All right, who's going to tell me what this is all about?
Okay, well, when we go inside, you'll see how it's bagged. But this is the end result. It's going to give us 18 months to make a decision on how we're going to dispose of the sludge. The other thing that it's given us the opportunity to keep a level of mixed liquors to where the bugs and the food and the mass ratio is proper, so that you have good treatment of the wastewater.
Now that's sludge over there in the pile, correct?
That's, yeah. We
Now-
picked that up quickly with a tractor.
At Rob's Point at one time, they were putting it out in their fields, spreading it in their fields.
That's right.
Are they still doing that?
They're going to be going over to a composting system.
Much like this here, you mean?
No, more like the city of Plattsburgh's
Okay,
operation.
compost, okay. So you could use it in gardens or whatever?
Lawns.
Lawns. All right, so that it's in these bags. These are very, very strong bags, I take it.
Yep.
They're not going to tear, right? I hope the landfills don't hear about this. They'll want us to use these bags now, except they're not clear. But all right, so you've got how much supply here? How long would you say you've?
We fired the system up on November 3rd, and that's stuck since November 3rd.
So that's 2 months. So you could put a lot out here during this 18 months. You can, right?
Yes.
And you carry this out here by hand? Is that a?
No, I got a cart inside that I dump it to the tractor. From the tractor, it comes out here.
All right. Now you don't.
A couple hundred pounds.
They,
When they're
a couple
wet.
hundred pounds, and they're wet. They won't dry anymore when they're in there now.
No, but they'll,
Spring they will.
in the
They-
spring
they will.
when it thaws.
All right. Now, you don't do that with a shovel.
No.
You're going to go show us. In part of this building where Calvin is standing here, we'll look at it from the outside. It's probably 20,
16 by 24.
16 by 24. You've made an enclosure.
Yep.
This something. What's this called?
It's a Draymad unit, and what we did was this option that I talked about 2 years ago, and nobody really thought it was a viable option along with us and DEC. And finally, we got to a point where the landfill closed, and it was time to do something. They struck out a deal with us, and we put up a temporary building to try it. And it's been the cat's meow because we continued to waste sludge on a daily basis where, with the drying beds, we were unable to do it.
So it worked in very good.
Yes.
All right, what do we talk about investment right here, give or take?
It's a $24,000 investment
Inside.
to purchase the machine.
Okay, inside the machine that's inside. All right. And you're gonna explain that to us when we get inside.
The outside is probably cost us $2,000.
All right, now the insulation, see, it's all insulated very well. Is that because you got to heat it inside, and because does that help to dry it or something, or?
No, what's in there is there's a pump and a polymer feed system that has to be kept from freezing. And,
Okay, we'll go and look at that. Anything else we should know out here?
No.
It's a nice building. You get down in here.
Gorgeous building.
Huh?
It's a lovely building.
It is. It's cold. Well, that's all right. You're not going to heat it. A lot of windows in here. I bet you'd like to have some of this cool air in the summer when you're out in here.
This
would be
gets
nice.
It's real hot.
real
Huh?
warm
I
in
bet you
here.
it does.
It will by the end of February. It'll get quite
Start,
warm.
that
Start
that
getting
sun
warm.
starts to
Yeah.
we'll start to work on it. There's no broken glass in this one like the other.
No, the other one is the 63, and it's been through reconstruction a few times as far as glass goes.
Of course,
Anything-
this didn't help the building either because the snow slid off the roof
Oh yes. Yeah.
and took the window.
Anything 30 years old is starting to get old, right, Kevin?
That's what I am.
Huh? All right. We'll be right back. We're at the the treatment plant down in on River Street in Champlain, New York, and we're having a great time. We have come inside the building. Within the building, we showed you outside. We were talking about is 16 by 24, and right there is the pipe that brings the sludge in by gravity.
That's right.
And then what happens? How does it get up into this white machine?
Is force from gravity from the digesters. From there, it comes through this sludge pump system. This is a polymer barrel, which mixes in with the sludge, causes the sludge to flock together, and water separation from it, which
Kind of
helps it
packs,
be.
you mean, like? And,
Well, it makes like a cheesecloth type of thing, or a cheese ball or whatever,
uh-huh.
and causes it to dewater.
Does the water drain out of there?
Water drains out of this unit right here.
Okay, so
once
it
the
doesn't
sludge
really
is-
drain out while it's in here.
No.
It still stays mixed.
That mix right there is just a polymer mix that added to the sludge when it comes through.
Polymer, okay. And then I see there's a drain going down. It must be something comes up, maybe just.
That's drained from
Oh,
the-
that gray drain is
That
just
is-
to drain the tank.
Okay, then it goes across. How does it get over? Oh, across the top
across the top.
and goes down inside. Then what happens?
Well, it fills up the bags, and as the bags fill up, they dewater. It's a filter fabric bag.
Now there's 12 bags. Do they feed equally, or they just certain ones one at a time, or how does it work?
What happens? It works from the front to the back. The two end ones fill up first, and it gradually comes to the side.
You mean as it comes out of that pipe, it's going directly into the bag?
No, it
No,
comes
there's a
off the splash pad inside.
I've got a problem here. We'll be right back. I've got to get around where you're going to turn the unit on. We're looking into an opening in the machine. And what are we going to see now, Kevin?
You're going to see the sludge being fed to the system.
Okay, so it's coming down the pipe into the system.
Yep.
I can hear the sludge being fed into the system. All right. Now it sounds quite liquid.
Well, it is.
What is it?
2%.
2% at this point.
approximately.
Okay, now does any of the liquid leave while it's in this machine?
Well, the water will be dewatered off through the filter bags. From there, it feeds through.
Okay, so that when it gets in the bag, the water comes out.
Exactly.
You'll
Oh,
watch in just a moment, you'll start, if you look, you can start to see this bag, it looks like it's sweating.
yes.
And that water, see,
So this bag, I see it's coming here, it's swelling out here.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, look at so that
And
bag.
now it drains down to the
It's
bottom.
not airtight, so for certain.
No, it's not supposed to be. That's the whole idea, is to allow the water from the sludge.
It goes down into that basin and it drains off into the unit. Is that water still treated afterward again?
That water goes back through the entire plant.
To be treated again, just like it was new water coming in.
Right.
Okay. Now, are these expensive bags?
$3 a piece.
All right. I mean, that's just not, yeah. But again, it's the cost of operating a treatment system. And then if you use this and you continue to use this, you don't need these flat beds outside. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you
This
also
allows you to continuously remove sludge 365 days a year if you so desire.
Okay.
As you notice, now you're starting to get a little odor. That's about as odoriferous as it gets.
Now, tell me, does anybody else in this area have a system like this?
This is the first one in New York State.
First one in New York State. But it's working fine?
This system is a European technology, and it's being repped out of Manhattan, Kansas.
Okay. How'd you hear about this one, or who heard about this one?
Well, the system we have is an Aeromod system, and it's the company that owns Aeromod also owns this part of the company too. So,
Kevin, when we were walking from one building to another, I asked you something about how you differ from Rouse's Point. You told me that, and I will say it out loud, Rouse's Point has a Cadillac and you've got a little Volkswagen or a small Pinto. Oh God, don't say that. Hey, not Pinto for our Ford dealer out there, our big agency here. No, but it's a small, the big to the small is what you're saying. All right. And is that because they got a lot more to treat than we have?
well, their flow is a lot higher than ours. Yes.
And a lot of that is because of Aris, right? Aris plays a lot of that.
They built their plant at the right time. The funding
And they got help for
The
it.
funding was there, and it was better off to go bigger than what you needed to. And when we upgraded ours, the funding just wasn't there.
When you became the operator here, you know, the chief operator, who was the operator before?
Alan Perrier.
Okay, Alan had been doing, and he was superintendent too?
Yes.
He was both. So Bob, he couldn't handle all that at one time, so he made you the chief operator.
Well, I was cheap before he got here.
Oh yeah, okay.
He reminds me of that all the time.
Which reminds me, Bob, that you have now gone beyond your what do I want to call here? Your probation period. Are you a full-time employee yet? Now you've been
Yes, I am.
accepted.
Yeah,
you were on a 6-month probation or year probation.
6 months.
And that sounds bad, but they got to make sure that he worked out what they thought. After all, he had only passed a 3.5-hour test. They gave him 6-month test this time, right?
That's it.
Yeah. Things working out.
I like it very much. It's a challenging job.
Yeah. We need a lot of things in the village. We need some street work done, and we need some sidewalks done, right?
There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done. We'll do it as quickly as we can and try to.
How do you determine the priority? What's first?
Well, the village board assists a lot in that. They have a lot of say in the priorities and how I would do certain things.
You're talking about major, but if today you've got a leak downtown and you've got
There's
something
no
out there,
question as to how we're going to deal with it.
that's yours. You do
That's
whatever.
mine.
That's yours.
That's mine.
That's up to you. That's your experience of what
Right.
you got to do first,
Right.
or whether you can do a little bit of both, or whatever, right?
Right.
Whether you're going to put sand down, they don't have a meeting when you're
Oh,
going to
God,
put
no.
sand, right?
Oh, God.
Do you have some kind of a system about sand? What do you do? These people work during the day. What do you do? Get out? You have to work extra overtime
That's
at
correct.
5 o'clock in the morning when it's
5
slippery?
o'clock in the morning, you get up in the morning, have a look-see and see what it looks like out and how we're going to deal with it in a given day. You can't, there's no rule of thumb.
What do you say to the guy that tells me that I just cleaned my driveway, he come by and shoved it all back in again?
I'm sorry.
That's all you can do. You can't stop at every driveway.
I could always tell somebody that does have somebody who plows their driveway not to leave a tag tail out on the low end of the road. Because that I'll push back in.
Back in,
If
yes.
you're on the upper side, in other words, the snowplow delivers to the right-hand side of the truck.
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
If you, as you face your driveway, leave a pile of snow on the right-hand side
On
of
the
your
far side,
right,
yes.
then it's going to come back in your driveway.
It
We
won't
do-
come back if you
it
put it.
will.
Oh, I mean, but if you're
You want it
facing
on-
out, you want it on
If you're facing out,
the going away side, yes.
Right.
All right.
then you know, you have a much better chance, because
Yeah.
we're not trying to push the
Of
bank
course
back
not.
in.
But you're
We're
trying to
just
keep it clean.
Scrape the street to get, so there's no ice on it.
Yeah, it looked like, I've been gone the last couple of days, in and out, but it looks like you've gone to widen up some of the roads, like in front of my house and to the edge of the corner. Looks like you pushed it back.
We sent the loader up because of the drifting.
Yep, and you've moved it back off the road, and
Right.
you've taken a step back. Okay.
It allows us.
All right.
It allows everybody.
All right. What else has to be done now with this system? That, you just gotta put it out and decide what you're gonna do with it after.
That's
How you're gonna compost it.
That's correct.
This pretty trouble-free so far, Kevin?
The only moving part there is the slush pump and the polymer
Yeah.
system.
Really, all this is doing is putting it in the bag. You could do it with a shovel.
No, thank you.
No, I'm just saying you could.
Yes.
It could be done. Because this is doing nothing except feeding the bags, right?
Right.
As it goes down into the bags. Now, who changes the bags and how often?
Well, I change them most of the time, but Ronnie gives me a hand once in a while.
Okay, it's off right now, so it can't do anything.
That's right.
Well, does that mean that what happens when it doesn't come out? That wherever you're up above just don't come down? That's right. That's what happens.
That's right.
How-
That's aerated too.
How often do you have to change these? Once a day?
Right now I'm on a every other day. Okay, started. I'll pull bags tomorrow.
Now, when you take this bag out to bring it up, it's kind of wet.
Yes.
Still,
Show them your
That's-
little.
you wear an apron or something? You have to.
No. This cart right here.
Oh, that goes right to it. Oh, look at this. Hey, we're recognized.
What happens is lower this cart down here,
Look at this.
goes under the bag, raise the bag up, pull this off, pull the bag to you, and then you got to tie it with these ties right here.
Yeah.
This tie goes around.
Yeah. Well, that's a great system right there. That's a good.
Simplicity.
That's a very simple thing right there. I would think, huh? That sounds
The only
good.
thing I wear is rubber gloves.
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, listen, this is not, if you pardon the expression, dirty as working on a farm cleaning gutters.
No.
I mean, it's not any worse
a
than
lot
that.
cleaner.
And most of us have done that one time in our lives or other, right? Most of us here, including Calvin. Especially Calvin. He didn't like to feed him, so he had the other job. But no, you don't really have much. You don't have the waste that you see in a barn. You know, that's really. But again, there's nothing dirty about that. It's just it may be an odor, but you can't say it's unhealthy.
No. It's a system that's growing because since we put ours in, I've gotten several phone calls from other places that wanted to know how it's doing, and they're thinking about putting it in themselves.
Well, I'm glad I asked this question. I didn't realize that how you get that bag up. And you mentioned a cart, but I didn't know it was a special cart.
Oh, yeah.
And this just opens up right here. You pull that pin out, and
Yep.
then you just put another one right on it. It's very simple. All right. Is there some way you can shut it off so nothing leaks down while you're? No, what I mean, as far as when you take this off, there'll still be some leakage.
No.
Before you,
There'll be
no,
none.
it's shut right off.
Yeah.
He
Okay.
leaves it long enough so that it's pretty well, actually, when he takes it off here, it's probably 12 or 13% solids.
Well, there's no way that you could explain this without seeing it and know what he's talking about.
We have to.
I have heard this, I think, at the office, some of the meetings, but I didn't know what you were talking about. And there's the bag.
That's the bag.
And as you can see, it's a porous bag, and the water just leaks out of it. It just leaks completely out of it.
This fabric is quite often used alongside roads or under roads of fabrics very similar to this to support roads. You can actually put gravel on top of a fabric like this, on top of a clay soil. They used a woven material
Uh-huh.
on Route 9, but you could use a fabric similar to this that would allow the water to get down through it but not pump through it.
So this is really one of your most expensive parts, is the bag.
That's it.
And I'm not sure I got the answer, or if I asked it, but 12 of these would be how long? If you were to start with 12 new ones, how long before you'd have to replace them?
Every other day I replace it.
So you're talking 6 a day, give or take?
Roughly.
Yeah.
Give or take, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that you're talking $18 a day for bags to do this, which is no more than doing it the other way. And then once you put it in a bag, you put it out there. It's just a matter of throwing it out to a unit if you know where to get rid of it later. Can you sell it, make any money with it later?
That would be an ideal situation. We would love to be able to
Well,
find
it's
somebody.
compost. Someone pays for compost.
It's not compost. It's
Not,
sludge.
this is still sludge. When you compost it, you actually take it again and aerate it.
Oh,
and
again, oh.
They go through a whole
okay.
other process.
So you gotta dig a big hole to put this in somewhere.
Now, there's places out there, but it's gonna be costly to get rid of it, regardless.
It's going to be costly to get rid of
It
it.
might be costly, and probably, in all probability will be, because everybody has you over a barrel.
If you'll pardon the expression.
No pun intended.
All right, now tell me this. We're going to move over here, Bob, so we can see you here a little bit better. Is you all right there? Take a break. I'm hearing water running. Is that much drainage coming out of there right now?
Yes, there is.
Because you just opened it before, right? That's that much drainage running out.
Runs out quickly.
All right, now that's what's running out. There are things that come into this system that shouldn't come into the system.
That's correct.
I remember our tour in Rouse's Point. We saw toys, we saw plastic items, we've seen combs, anything can get thrown in the toilet by mistake or deliberately that shouldn't be there.
That's correct. And plastic items, small plastic items, and something that can get through our muffin monster, Q-tips.
Q-tips, don't throw in the toilet.
Drive us especially crazy, because the type of system we have here, there are little pipes, and it plugs them. And then it does not run as efficiently.
Well, you know, you think sometimes you throw something down a toilet that's solid or otherwise, you say, well, I'll throw that down there, that it's done forever. It's gone to the never world. It doesn't know it's got to go somewhere else later.
Well, those products that are not biodegradable are still there.
Yeah.
They're someplace.
Of course, toys, rubber duckies from the toilet get thrown in. Someone flushes the toilet. They go down the drain. Some things go down the small plastic things go down the hole for the tubs, right? Some of the little toys, a spoon, whatever, they can all go down.
All those things.
And those things can cause you trouble.
They can.
Anything else we should cover while we're here?
I think
In general,
we did a decent job.
we've done a decent job. Well, thank you very much. That's the first time I heard that today.
You maybe want to take a picture of the effluent, the water coming out of this
Yes.
drain.
Okay, right here is where the water is draining. You can see the water on the bottom that's draining throughout this bag. I didn't realize that bag was like that before. And then it's going down. And remember, as it goes down, it joins all of the sewage that's coming from the complete village and just becomes another part of it. It just keeps recycling continually, right?
Until this water will eventually go out in the river. After it's been gone through the process again.
Because you've taken out the solids, which is what this whole system is all about.
That's right.
And you have to keep this heated in here, so they got a little ready heater that keeps it warm in here. Does the machine generate much heat in itself?
No.
No, not at all. There's not that much
In fact,
for motor.
quite the opposite. It
Okay,
actually brings cold in.
all right. Well, Ron, now you say when he's not available, you're the deputy, so to speak?
Yeah, you must well say that. Yeah, must well say like assistant for him. No, I'm working on it. If his license, anything goes wrong, his license is in trouble. So that's why I gotta be careful what I do.
Do you go to some of the training too, sometimes?
I met a couple of times. I did.
I heard them at the
Yeah.
village meetings when they, we can't send two people at $60 and we can't give them the breakfast. They got to eat before they leave. I think that is so silly. If you pardon the expression, mayor and trustees, you got employees, you can't afford to give them $5 to eat, an extra $5 that they may not need. Well, good Lord, it's no fun being away all day either. It's not all fun, is it?
No, it isn't.
You have lessons, you have to study. You go for overnight at all, Kevin?
Yes, matter of fact, I'm putting in for a course that's being offered in March, a 2-day course up in Albany. I hope they approve.
It's either needed or it isn't. If it's not needed, then no. If it's needed, what difference does it make what it costs? You gotta go.
The course he wants to go for this time is one that will allow him to be a teacher, to teach other
Yes.
people and what he's doing.
It just don't make any sense to me that there's even a question about it. It's just a matter of saying yes. It should be automatic. I don't get any. If it's needed, it's needed. I don't ask you if you need those bags. I got to pay for them, and that's what it should be. You're not. Well, anyway, that's enough of that. But anyway, I watch those meetings, Calvin, and I get a little disgusted at times when you hear it talking about a fifth of a cent, and they change people like that for a fifth of a cent who's done a very good job for our village, and they've given it to somebody else because they're saving a fifth of a cent, and I've talked to some of the trustees about that. I think that there should be some loyalty to people who have done a good job for your village.
I totally agree with you. The problem is that the New York State law says that you're supposed to go with the low bidder.
If everything else is equal.
If if everything.
And you can find something on Equal and give it to the guy who's been loyal to you. But anyway, that's one reason why I'm not a trustee, but I don't want to be a trustee either.
I think they use his best judgment as.
Oh, it's a thankless job, and
Yes.
if it weren't for the money, I know they wouldn't be there. Such big salary.
Yeah.
I think it's $600, I think.
Something. It's
It's ridiculous. It's pathetic. It's right. All right. Anything else while we're here we should be covering?
No,
I think you got it all.
I think we pretty well have it.
All right.
covered.
We hope to get into see your water closer later on, the water system.
Yeah, and of course, the collection system, where everything comes down, is still something that needs work on.
The collection system. I'm sorry. I'm not.
The sewer pipes themselves.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes. Some of them are pretty old in this village, right?
Very old, and we're going to try to do some of that.
Yeah. I noticed Plattsburgh has had some problems in the paper with frozen pipes. Have you had any in the village this winter yet?
no.
So far. You had one a couple of years ago in front of church, remember? Last year, the year before, it was a real problem, and that was tough out there, tough.
We just, as I knocked on wood,
But we got newer pipes, so maybe we don't have that. Those are really old ones, that probably in Plattsburgh. But they move, too. I don't understand why I don't move on Church Hill, because Church Hill moves all the time. That's moving up there, and those pipes break open because
That's
of the
correct.
movement. And there's a lot of movement on Church Hill. If you look at some of the porches,
well, it's all clay soil. Clay soil moves. It's jello,
all right,
and that's what you have here.
okay. Anything else we want to cover? No?
No, thanks for coming.
You're very welcome. We've been wanting to do this for some time, Kevin. Kevin said that if we did this and he was on, he said he would always speak very well about Hometown Cable.
I always do.
You always do, right? He's one of those patrons too, by the way, and we hope you are a patron. And many of you talk about how good it is, and it can't be done without some help from you patrons out there. And someone the other day, yes, gave me a check, but my name wasn't on it. Calvin's was, and I delivered that this morning, by the way. The lady who gave me the check, Calvin's got it, and your name will be on the screen here shortly. And thank you very much for that, because you said your year was up. And it's once a year, twice a year if you want to. Send a donation of $12 or more to Hometown Cable, Calvin Castine. He's got a new number, 1577. 1477 on Ridge Road, but don't worry about that. Hometown Cable, Calvin's known throughout the county, and you see many things. And did you have anything like this when you were in New Hampshire?
No, we didn't have cable in New Hampshire.
Didn't have cable in New Hampshire.
They like to make fun of me and call me hillbilly.
Listen, does it bother you when you go to the village board meeting and this camera's on you when you're talking to the village members?
I think it did the first 2 or 3 meetings. After that, you take it for granted it's there.
I think they know who you are, and listen, it's a thing, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's tremendous.
Okay.
But he still hasn't become a sponsor yet.
He hasn't become a sponsor yet? Oh.
They jive you.
Well,
I'll rectify.
we're going to rectify it. Hey, well, listen, we did something else. And listen, if Bob Sullivan can do it, so can you. All the other Irishmen out there. Challenge all the other Irishmen.
Are there many Irishmen here?
No, they're all French. Bob Venn and Calvin Castine, what's going on here? We'll see you next Sunday, and we hope you'll be tuned in many times between now and then. Every day, 1 o'clock, 4:30, 8 p.m., midnight, and 8 the following morning. And somewhere within that 3-hour period of each of those, you're going to see whatever Calvin and Sam put all their time into. And it's always a pleasure to me to come. I know these people before. I know a little bit more about their job now, and I really appreciate what they do for me in the village, because this is not pleasant work out here. I don't mean because of the nature of the product. I mean because of the nature of where you got to do it and when you got to do it in the middle of the winter. Right. That's tough.
That's right.
That's right. I'd hate to get up in the morning, got to get going, Ron, because you're not going to a warm office or out sitting under a cow where it's nice and warm. You're out where it's very cold. Thanks for tuning in. We moved down to what I think one of the most important buildings in any community, and that's the library, the Bidwell Library. Bidwell?
Well, it says Bidwell Memorial Library on the outside, but officially we have never changed the name. It was the Morris Free Library when it was first incorporated, and we never went through the procedure for changing the name. We probably should have done.
So over the last, well, not last, you retired in, when, 88, 87?
In 88.
You spent nearly as much time in here as you did in your kitchen.
Well,
Once the kids grew up.
no,
No?
because the library was only open a few hours a week, you know.
Well, how many? Say, 10, 12, 15?
It was open on Wednesdays and Saturdays, 1 to 5 and 7 to 9
Okay.
that time, 12 hours a week.
Yeah, and of course, this is what's happening now. We were talking at the CEF, the computers. This is their computer where they can check from in here. They can check any book in the whole area of that. I think she said Oswego. They said area.
Well, it's quite a
Large area. They're all right in that little tiny disc right in here. And and now you are not familiar with the computers.
I decided to retire when the computers came in.
All right. You did it the hard method. I say hard with the file drawers and the cards.
Right.
Okay. You came here. You said in 1948.
1948, I was appointed librarian.
Through 1988. So you're talking
Right.
40 years. All right.
Right.
Now the history of the library. In this book on the history of the town of Moores, there's a little bit. The library was started in
1917.
Okay.
Probably instigated by the Presbyterian minister, Reverend John Neal Robertson.
Is this his
That's
picture up
his
there?
picture up there on the
Okay.
wall. Yes, the Moores Free Library Association was formed. He was elected secretary and treasurer. Mrs. H.W. Knapp was elected president. Mrs. Elmer Fitch was vice president. Each of the Moores churches was represented on the board of trustees. Mrs. George Stevenson for the Wesleyans, Mrs. C.F. McCollister for the Catholics, Mrs. Elmer Fitch for the Methodists, and Mrs. H.W. Knapp for the Presbyterians. And Reverend Robertson was elected the 5th trustee and 1st librarian. The library itself was held in numerous places around the village until in 1930, Mrs. A.K. Bidwell left $5,000 in her will to build the library, $4,000 to build the library and $1,000 to equip it. And as we have noticed on the outside of the building, it's called the Bidwell Memorial Library, which it probably should be officially, but it had been the Moores Free Library for many years, a number of years before that, since 1917, and it was never officially changed, the name of it. Officially, we are the Moores Free Library.
This is Mrs. Bidwell, right over on that picture. And like I say, and this, if you haven't seen from outside, it's pretty cold. It's 0 or 3 above. This is the picture here of the library, right on Main Street. It's the second building east of the restaurant, the Blue Note.
Across from the barber shop.
Across from the barber shop. Okay, that's where we are. We're inside, and we're talking with the authority for 40 years. Now, did you have help during that time?
Oh, yes. All of my kids had to work in the library.
Your kids, yes.
At various times when they were in high school, and other young people, high school age, assisted and sometimes worked an hour or so by themselves when I would go home to get supper.
Now, without giving me any names, did any of the 5 didn't like it as much as the others? No names.
I don't know.
Was it a
about
chore
that,
for
but,
them? No.
I will tell you that when Jim was working here, at the same time Larry Marnes and Max Stewart, who were his classmates, also worked occasionally in the library. For instance, if the library is open from 1 to 5, school was out at 3, we'll say, and one of these teenagers would come in at 3:30, and I would go home to get supper. So we did have teenagers working here for an hour and a half, perhaps. And Jim put a note on the back of the clock, and he wrote, "It would be dishonest in the extreme to set this clock ahead." So you can see he was anxious to get out of there.
But listen, it did them all good. Obviously, they all went on to. They all graduated from college, all went on to higher education.
Right.
They've all got relatively good jobs. They got good jobs,
Very
and
good.
they married well. They got a good family. And a lot of it you had to depend on, and they were responsible. That's one way to get them
Right.
responsible.
Jim loved science fiction, and he remarked at one time that His knowledge of science fiction was perhaps what got him the National Merit Finalist Award. I don't know how that is. But
Well, I think, well, I mean,
imagination and
yeah. Tell me now, who's the librarian now?
Marilyn Bobka from Scioto.
Mhm.
Her husband has been a professor at the college. In fact, he retired and then he's teaching one class right now, I believe.
Now, she been here since you left in 88?
Yes, she showed an interest in the library and was a regular patron and volunteered to help out and so forth. And I was beginning to wonder who's going to take over if I quit. And Marilyn was willing. So I was very happy about that.
Yeah. Now, when you say that, you know, they think of it as being a town library, village library, it is not. It is it's operated by an association, a group?
Well, it was set up that way as an association library, and it still is. And we used to say people paid membership dues in the library. The dues were only $1 a year. And eventually we had to give up the idea of their paying dues. We just have a fund drive and accept donations now. But we can't ask for dues because...
Well, you couldn't get your tax exempt certificate.
Right.
Oh, okay,
Right.
all right, yes. Now, tell me, you have trustees that run the library?
Yes, we
Operate?
have seven
You know,
trustees.
can you remember who they all are? Can you tell me? Oh, we got to
Oh,
start
yeah.
it here now.
Reginald Barcombe has been president of the library board for a number of years. We hope he'll continue.
He was on that committee, you remember, for the bicentennial, yes?
Lorraine Orr has been a trustee for years. Lois Marnes was until she retired last May. And in Lois's place, we elected Barbara Seguin. Some people pronounce that differently.
Seguin, Sayan, yes.
Whatever. And Jack Orr is now a library trustee.
That's Joanna's husband?
That's, yes.
Our principal at the elementary school, the husband, yes. Daughter just got married, by the way. Picture was in the paper just a week ago. We got to give you the news.
Sue Evans, Dr. Evans' wife, is a trustee,
Veterinarian's
vice
wife.
president. Have I named them all, Paul?
Name 5. Uh-oh.
Well, myself.
Oh, let's not forget Mrs. Vogan. And then we got one other we're going to think about, and we'll continue. We can't stand here and think, but we'll think about it as we go. There's one other person. The most important one you're going to find out.
You come to the library for 7 or...
No, she's not one of the trustees. She's secretary for the library board, Marilyn Bobka.
Okay. Now, I'm told here, Pam Vogan Lynch's horse, that's your daughter's part of her horse collection.
Well, it's a very small part of her horse collection, really.
She's the one, do you remember, went on to college and liked the horses we just heard about when we were at the house. And that's some of the horses she's put up here. And this map was done by, come over here with me. This map was done by
Leeward Orr.
Leeward Orr. It's a map of the town of town of Moores, rather, and it's got the different designations. And he's got an index here that tells you what each number is. Number 19, number 13. We've got the Moores Village. The junction was up here before. Then it's got Cannons is out here. Cannons Corner. This is Route 11 and Moores Forks here. The 3 basic communities. Of course, there was another one years ago that was very well known. It was right here, and that was Thorns Corners. Thorns Corners was quite an established residential area years ago. It was pretty well known, and it was in the maps, and it was in the various things. I see he hasn't designated it as such in here. The schools, the churches, Leeward Orr, and he's made more than one of these. Did I understand?
There's another map. We'll see it in the basement.
Okay.
Before we forget, the 7th trustee is Helen Garrison.
All right. Helen Garrison, who also works at our bazaar in the treasurer.
She is the treasurer.
She works at our bazaar in Champlain and helps St. Mary's, and we see her in Champlain from time to time.
She's been ill.
I didn't know
She
that.
has been ill for the last several months.
I don't see her too often. I see her mostly in the bazaar in the spring, and she helps us out. And All right, now this is where you spent so many years, right
I
here.
sat there quite a while, I believe.
Okay, how many volumes would you have in a library like this?
I think we say around 5,000.
5,000. If you remember, it was somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 they have in the bookmobile that travels around the 62 stops they were talking. And now these change from time to time.
We have collections from the system library, as you know.
Okay, yeah. Are they in one place? Can you give us an idea, for instance, if they were?
Chiefly on these bookshelves. down
Okay.
here.
They would be in one particular area?
I think,
Okay, these here.
A lot of these are...
Okay, see, here is that Clinton, Essex, Franklin Library, and they were telling us that they do set up collections of a certain type of books.
These are adult fiction, and on the other side there are adult nonfiction, many of those from the system library also.
And the rest are all your books, right?
Yes, this is the local history area.
Now, these can't go out, is that the idea?
I think perhaps they're loaned occasionally, but carefully.
Okay, now I noticed the history of Shazy by, is it Nell Sullivan and Mr. David Martin. Well, I just read last night in that history book that Mrs. Sullivan was formerly from Moores. She's a native of the Moores area. I don't remember what family, but I saw that last night. What do the white symbols mean on there?
You would have to ask Marilyn. She put those on.
She's got her own symbols, all right? You know what it is? It's something to confuse Betty Vogan.
Well,
So you won't know what it is. There'll be something
if
you
I
don't...
don't know, I'll ask Marilyn.
All right.
Historical nature.
Probably. Could be, it must designate a certain time for a different thing.
Right, we have to talk about this collection of books on antiques.
Okay.
That Harold Barr gave us. When his mother died, she had an antique shop in her home, you know.
Where is that?
What was her first name, Paul? Mrs. Barr?
Eva.
Eva Barr?
And she had and she gave this collection of antiques.
Well, her son mostly. He was in Florida. He's a lawyer. And he shipped them up here. He could take tax credit or something for the donation.
Right.
But on both sides of these shelves, the books on antiques are donated by Harold Barr.
I see they got dolls. A lot of collections on dolls. We saw the doll collection at the Clinton County Historical Museum.
Well, it's a beautiful collection. We're very grateful to Harold.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I believe he still contributes to our fall.
All of these, you mean on both sides, that whole section? Very nice collection, very nice. And here's, we were talking about, this is one of the books I mentioned at the library the other day, and I couldn't get, that's The Bridges of Madison County. It was mentioned, my wife wanted that book, I wanted to get it for her, and when I asked for it, they had already purchased it. They knew it was going to be a popular book, right? Very popular, right? It was
Some reviewers call it a glorified soap opera. But,
well, that's what makes it so good, I guess.
But it's very interesting. I read it.
Yeah, very.
And he's got another book out
Yes,
now.
and be automatically a hit, obviously.
Oh, definitely.
This is
bestseller.
This was also mentioned on TV, but the latest book out on the assassination of JFK. There was a TV program when he was on. Gerald Posner was on. He claims that whatever they did, whatever they found out, was exactly the way it happened. I didn't read the book, but I've read many of those on the assassination. All right, what else can we? We'll take a short break and be right back.
It's been a wonderful thing for the library and also to remember people's names.
Okay, we're looking at the Plaque City, of course, and I started the trophy business back in 1968, which went on and still being operated now by the Dick Turno and his son and his son-in-law in Rouse's Point. And here's one, Elizabeth F. Vogan. That is your maiden name, I take it, F?
Forden.
Librarian, 1948 to 88, the Moores Community. In appreciation for devoted service, planted and dedicated a blue spruce tree on the library lawn and also put a nice plaque. I see 3 other plaques here that are similar with a lot of little plates. What are those? What's that all about?
Well, those are memorials. Any family who would like to have their deceased named on our memorial plaque if they will donate $50 to the library, the name will be added to the
Or more?
plaque.
Or more, even?
Or
Oh,
more.
yeah, or more.
In fact, it was among the larger donations to begin with. Evelyn Matthews, who was president of the library board here for years and taught at the school for many years, there were many donations in her memory.
Several hundred.
Yeah. Now, there's only 5 plates left, but if there's more than 5, I'm sure they'll buy another plaque. And you probably got, did you get those from my former business? I hope. Trophies and awards in Rouse's Point,
Yes,
New York.
we did.
We can say that. And
did.
Melvin Ferns, I see here. Then Reverend Watson, Catherine Baker, James Fitch, Ozias Plant, Clonis, Carol Clonis, Gene Stewart, Ruby Barcombe, Macomb, Mr. and Mrs. John Provenci, Ralph Lewis, Leeward Manette. These are people that are well known in this community. Now, if I started, I got to name them all, Calvin. I'm stuck now. I better read them all. Charles Chandler, Graham Brooks, Amos Musso, Floyd Dragoon, J. Edgar Morgan, Paul Plant, Mr. and Mrs. Willard Orr. Who has not heard of all of those people? And there's another one over here. Eva Boyer and Thurlow Stewart, Constance Lawson, Evelyn Matthews, Edward Marnes, Mr. and Mrs. H.W. Vogan, Paul's parents, Mr. and Mrs. L.B. Jubert, Red Jubert's parents from Scioto, Cora Fitch, Raymond Brooks, Virginia Knapp Smith, Ina Boyce, teacher for many years, and Frank Macomb. These are the people, and if you haven't got your plaque up here yet, and you want to be remembered, and don't we all want to be remembered, come up here. $50. Now, not only is it don't cost $50 for a plate, but the library needs $50 and a lot more. And the towns out there, please, give these libraries a little bit more. I'm going to mention that again. When we vote in the fall for our bond issue, I think it's $4,500 they get now, $1,500 for the 3 libraries. Moore's, Champlain, and Rouse's Point. That should be at least $5,000 each. I can afford it, and anybody out there who needs we need libraries, and the libraries need help. You agree with that?
Definitely.
All right. And it's not for your salaries. The salaries are very small.
No, when I began working here, it was 50 cents an hour. And then later it was $1 an hour. And then when the minimum wage was passed, they had to bring it up to minimum wage.
But librarians today are not making much more than minimum wage. $5, $6 an hour? Are they getting that?
I don't know.
I don't have to know
sure
that.
what
I think.
It should be. I mean, gosh, you know, these.
I think in most places, like in Clinton, Essex, Franklin.
Oh, I don't mean that. I'm talking about the little town. Here, they're pretty near donating their time. You know, you're pretty near donating your time. We've had donated people before. And can the library use help from anybody out there? If there's a young person that's interested in the library, can you find something for them to do if they want a teenager, someone responsible?
Certainly.
Come in and talk to the librarian, talk to the board if you want.
Of course, Marilyn Bobka has Merle Garand working here with her under the Green Thumb program. And she has been working for a year or so with Marilyn and has been very helpful.
Okay. While we were here just a few minutes ago, well, look at Calvin's got those cats up there on that camera. Tell us about those kittens, cats.
Well, those cats were all owned by somebody in the area, and I think it was Bev Sears that wanted her cats. She's got a lot of cats put up there, and she produced pictures, camera pictures of all her cats. Pam has her cat jumping down on the left-hand end there. Let's see, Sharon Pratt Dutil has a couple of cats up there, 2 or 3. And Marilyn Bobka has 2 or 3 of her cats up there. Pam painted them all.
Pam Vaughan Lynch with the horses. She's the one that came along 8 years after Jim.
Right.
After Jim.
Right.
See, I'm remembering all these.
Memory.
March the 1st, 1954. She's nearly 40 years old. She's the one who painted those. And she's been painting for years. She's been doing a lot of painting.
Those are on sliding panels, and behind there we have current magazines stored.
All right. Now, up on top of this shelf right here, and this I guess you'd call it a picture frame with inscriptions. And the reason I looked at it, and way down at the bottom it says, mustered into the United States service, August the 29th, 1862, by Lieutenant Foote, at Plattsburgh, New York. So these are county people that are very, very old. We're talking 130 years here. This is older than Paul Vogan, as a matter of fact, right here. This is what that is. And this, of course, the Civil War, they left from our county, and it's a nice memento up here in the, it's in 2 pieces of glass. If it broke, it sure broke straight across. Nice old piece here. When you come to this library, look at this a little closer. A lot of family names on here that have been here for years, and some that are no longer in our area. You'd have to look in the cemetery to see some of these family names. Okay, and this a table. Do you just come in here and everybody can sit here and study, do what they want?
Right. We should mention the cemetery record books.
Okay.
I think they're out of the library at present, being updated, but Leeward and Lois Orr were in charge of that for many years, and it's quite a problem to keep them updated.
So that's your own, or is that something from McClellan's?
Those are our
Your own here?
Yes.
And that's just in the town of Moores? Is that the town of Moores record?
The records of the cemeteries in Moores and Moores Forks, I believe perhaps Altona.
Okay. Any of you genealogists out there, anybody wants to check, it's a fun place to check if you're looking in the town of Moores. And you're open again when?
We're open Monday and Wednesday, 1 to 5 and 7 to 9, and
So that's 1 to 5 and 7 to 9, and each day?
each day, and on Saturday now from 10 to 12 and 1 to 4.
Okay.
We're going to be increasing the hours, 2 more hours very soon.
Okay, and you say we now. Are you still on the committee?
I mean the Moore's
Oh, all right. Well, now you were on the board, right? You never were on it.
No, but he's the unpaid janitor
Oh,
for
yeah.
the Moores Library.
Well, he had someone probably that instigated a lot of his coming here.
Yes,
You know
I
who that
think
might
so.
be?
But he still continues to
He
help
still continues
Maryland.
to. Well, I'd be very surprised if he didn't continue to help. It would be very, very surprised. All right. What else should? Here, for instance, you want to know what's in here? Income tax forms.
Right.
Federal forms here, and I think there's a video in here somewhere
There's
that will
a
tell you
copier that
that you can learn how to fill out your forms and so forth. And there's a program usually on TV that's about this time of the year. All right.
we should mention the large print books.
Okay.
We have a lot of large print books for people who prefer to read the larger print.
This is all large print?
Yes.
Okay, and that also, you remember we were talking down at the library? That's one of the services they have.
I think those all came, you can see by the labels, all came from the system library.
Right, all from the system down there. Now these will come in and out, they
Oh,
change,
yes.
because this wouldn't be here, they don't have 8 copies of this or 29 copies.
No,
They'll
those
move from-
circulate just like the rest of the books in the library.
Mhm.
And we also take a collection every once in a while up to the senior center.
A collection,
Of books.
and you bring them up there, you mean leave them there or something?
for
Oh, you do?
2 or 3 months and then change them.
Uh-huh. Who uses your library the most?
Since I
Older,
haven't- since I haven't been in
middle-aged,
here
or
for a while.
children? I mean, when you
Uh,
were here, in the 80s.
Well, it's families with young children use it a lot now that we have a beautiful children's library in the basement.
Oh, you have a
You'll see
separate
that.
library for the children? Okay, we're going to go down.
Then a number of adults that read use the library. Students doing reference papers use the library. We all wish everybody would use the library more than they do.
What it's for.
We
right?
have people saying, well, I've never been in the library,
Mhm.
but
Do you have any pictures here? I mentioned you can get pictures and bring them home. Do you have any of those here? Any of the
we
art
don't.
pictures? No, you don't do
well,
that?
there are some downstairs,
Yeah,
aren't
some
there?
down-
That you can
the
borrow?
system
Yeah, from the system library.
we could have done it one time. They've gone out of that business pretty much.
Well,
Okay.
they placed them all in Saranac, didn't they
Saranac
say?
Lake, yep. I think that's where they said they are
I
now.
think they said.
All right, we're going to move down around. There's, as we say, roughly between 4,000 and 5,000 books here, plus the periodicals and.
Lots of paperbacks. People give us.
All right, now what? Can people give you books?
Oh, yes, yes.
All right, except for textbooks. You don't want textbooks, I take it, right?
We don't want
You don't need
textbooks.
textbooks. But any of the books that they can give you, you can stop into the dollar store in Champlain, buy a new book and give it to your library. It's a nice donation for them. They think they're getting 15 or 20. It's only $1. But it's a book they want, and someone else may want to borrow it here.
Then Labor Day, we've been having a sale on the lawn of books that we're discarding,
Mm-hmm.
books that have been given to us that we don't need. Maybe we have other copies of them.
The day of the parade.
And also craft items and white elephant type items.
I usually pick up a box or two out here full of these books, and I was in here, and that's when I came in last year. I came in and saw the cat. I was talking to someone. I saw Mrs. Helen
Helen Garrison?
Garrison. She was here when I came last fall.
Yes.
Yes, she was here.
Yes.
All right. And then what do? Do you sell magazines regular? Do you sell your that are old, or any of your books that are general?
These older copies can be taken out, I guess, without being checked out,
Okay.
but returned. We were here the other day, and Paul was telling somebody, "Oh, you can have those," and
Yeah.
Marilyn said, "Oh no, we want them back. You may borrow them, but we want them back." Those craft magazines.
Okay. We're going to go downstairs and see the rest of the library. Please stay with us. We've come down into the basement area, I guess you'd call it this, the lower level. And if you always had this as a library down here?
No, no. For years and years, this was just a basement. And in the springtime, the water would be up maybe a foot in here, and everything had to be put up on blocks and so forth. If there's any storage down here at all, dank, and sometimes insects crawling around on the walls and water lines and so forth. There's seepage in. And so they talked about they needed more room here for the library, and whether we're going to put on an addition or what. And so we said, well, why don't we fix up the basement? So at that time I was serving on the Clinton Essex Franklin Library Board, and we're talking about construction and about getting grants from the state or the United States, whichever the federal or state grants. So we got together and saw a contractor and said something about what we would need, and submitted a grant, and we got a matching grant from the state for this. And so what we decided to do was just to fix it over. And first of all, we thought, well, we'll paint the walls and maybe raise the floor, and which we did, because before the water was seeping in all the time. And so they put gravel and so forth, about 8 inches of gravel on top of the old floor, and put in this porous or pipe with the holes in it anyway, pipe around there so the water could leak in, and it all led into a drain, and we have a sump pump business over there. So we got that done, got the new floor in and so forth, and then we decided, rather than paint and patch up the walls, try to make them waterproof in some way, why not insulate them and put in the paneling. Well, first of all, we paneled around the furnace to hide the furnace. And then it looked so good that said, well, why don't we go the rest of the way and do the whole room? So then the board elected to do that. We got help from the town and from the village, and different people donating, and so this is the result of that. And then we decided to put in carpeting, and back in here was all this area here was just a wasted space, you might say. There was a partition across here, and just sort of a dank storage room. We took that out, and so this is the result. And then also at the same time, we also put in, we didn't have any toilet facilities or running water here, so anytime we wanted a bucket of water or anything, there's no toilet facilities at all or washroom. So we put in a septic tank and the water. We don't have hot water here, but the water is warm because by the time it travels through here and so forth, it's okay. We have a flush toilet upstairs.
So now you have to keep heating the building all the time now with the water.
Well, we did anyway.
You did anyway.
Oh, yes.
Now this, I see Pam Vogan's name on that.
Yes,
1979.
Yes.
She did that one here first. Was that upstairs for a while?
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
When did you do the basement? Do you know about when that was?
Oh,
How long?
it's been maybe 10 years.
10 years?
ago. I don't remember.
Very nice. You're using. See, we don't use our basement in Champlain. Of course, it's damp. It's not wet, but it's damp. You got to put a dehumidifier or something down there. You'd have to heat it. And right now they don't really need it, but it'd be nice. I thought of making a little museum down there for our village, and I've really considered it. Have to pick up some money, maybe get a matching grant, I guess. So these are all children's things down here,
Yeah.
Mrs. Vogan, now, right?
Children's
And encyclopedias down here, the world books, the lower age, and all the different books. Now in behind, I see some National Geographic. You keep your National Geographics here, huh?
Right.
Okay. What else? And how do you manage with one person in the library when you have someone upstairs and someone downstairs?
Well, as I told you, the last year or so, we've had Merle Garand,
All right.
Working under the Green Thumb program.
So
which is very convenient.
yeah, because you need somebody just to
Right.
maintain order and to make sure that they help. They need help sometimes, you know.
Well, usually parents come with children who are using this area,
Mm-hmm.
so that helps. But as you say, if there's only one adult
yeah.
here in charge, you can't be upstairs and downstairs at the same time.
I noticed there is a door right here. Is that used? Right outside?
It can be in the summertime.
It can be used in the summer. I see a screen door. You got a new door out front, you said, and that must be the old
That
one.
one's to be taken out of here.
Okay.
I hope that we'll get rid of it when we have the next board meeting.
Okay.
Going back to the geographics,
Uh-huh.
this is when I was still serving on the board down at the CEF, and I was down in the basement there, and what are you going to do with those geographics? Oh, we're going to throw them out. I said, well, throw them to Moore's.
Mm-hmm.
The real old ones.
Every time they'd make a delivery, they'd bring up a box of them, and finally we got the whole collection that goes back to 1913, I think.
Oh, go, yes, yes.
Did you know that there's a passageway down between the Plattsburgh Public Library and Clinton Essex
No,
Franklin?
it goes across? No, they didn't
Yes.
mention that.
No,
That's where they had these
Oh.
little books down in that
and that's
passageway.
why they stored all these pictures that they're giving out and so forth. This is one of the things besides pictures, they had those type of
They
things.
loan those,
They loan
This?
that out, yes.
They loaned you that,
Yeah.
yeah? I bought some geographics from the Malone Library, and I didn't check them. I bought 200, 300, 400. And later I found out that they were, nearly half of them were stuck together. I don't know where the dampness came from. They were down in the basement, but they were unshelled, but they still got damp and they were stuck together.
These pictures on the walls are all from CEF.
Okay, these are the pictures we're talking about. Up here, those are the ones that you could borrow and put in your office, and you can keep them for a month or 6 weeks, I guess, can't
They've
you?
kept them for years.
Yep. And then they have different ones.
Control room over
Yep,
there.
there's one over behind Calvin, and another one over here that are the type that you can borrow. All right. Now, is there anything anybody can donate to the library here? Furniture at all? I see you have a television.
Well, the school has loaned us this table and these chairs and so forth
Mm-hmm.
we have here. And this table here, these are properties they weren't using in the school. If they ever want them, they can always get them. But
Mm-hmm. Nice little chairs.
I asked them if they had anything that they could use here for the children's department, and they have put those on permanent loan, I guess.
If you think you've got something out there, I guess, that you'd like to donate to the library that you think they might be able to use, why don't you call the library and ask them? Call someone on the board and ask them. Don't feel insulted if they say they can't use because maybe it don't fit into your schedule.
Yeah.
They aren't going to pick up your junk. They don't mean junk. They mean something that would be. You want to just leave it here for a year or two. You'd be glad to store it for them if they could be used. Extra books, shelves, and anything else. They can always use it.
What's this room called?
What's the room called?
Well, it's up here in the
Ah,
back.
I think Calvin saw that plaque up there. And what's it called?
I don't remember.
Well, let me see what this is called. Oh, no wonder. Ah, look. The Paul and Elizabeth Bogan Reading Room. In appreciation for the devoted service to the library, dedicated December 5th, 1985, the Board of Trustees Moore's Free Library. So, not only does Mr. and Mrs. Bogan Sr. have a little plaque upstairs for his mom and dad, $50 or more, but they also have a plaque right here with both of their names on. And that's very, very nice question. Elizabeth's got her own upstairs. I've been calling her Betty. Is it okay to say Betty? I'm not going to ever call
that's
you
right.
Paul.
Right,
I can't call
right.
you
Why,
Paul or
sure.
Mr. Marr. I
Yeah,
can't call you. I
sure.
can't call you Dad.
It's a beautiful jacket
Well,
you have on.
Well, it's surprising. I go to the Salvation Army now, time to time. It's surprising what you can pick up when you get there at the right time.
Right.
Here's another one of those maps by Leeward Orr, I take it.
Yes.
This is more of the village of Moores, correct, with the different houses?
Yes.
And all the houses are identified by number. It means that you have a number right here, but which is your house?
I don't know.
80, 81?
Built that in, and here's the,
Yeah, there's the index for it. Good job, Mr. Orr.
store this in.
Right in there, yeah. Right there you go, right inside. Just some of the things you can get at the library. Anything else we should know about down here? Self-explanatory down here. Do you miss coming in here every couple times a week?
I miss seeing the people.
There you go.
Visiting with the people.
You know,
I don't miss the work.
Okay.
Or the
I'll bet you I
schedule.
could say the same thing from retiring from school. You don't miss the work, but you miss seeing the people. The ones that you liked, at least. The ones that you liked, and you
I
could.
don't remember any I didn't like.
Well, you know, you could see the pictures of their children as they were growing up, hear about their, you know, the good and the bad in their lives, and you do miss that. You do miss
Right.
that. I miss that part. I don't miss getting up in the morning. I had to get up earlier this morning to come and see you people. I'll have you know that.
We have some people from Canada using our library.
Is that
They
right?
have to pay an annual fee. But we have people who have come here bringing their children when they were little, and they're now still coming, and their children are all grown up and married and moved away.
That's great. That's great. I think that's a great place to bring a child. Library is just, it's got everything in a library.
I'll have to tell you something that happened here maybe a month ago. We were coming back from our son John's over at Candiac, stopped at the Champlain Customs, and the fellow says, "Where are you from?" And I said, "Moors." I said, "Have you ever heard of Moors?" "Oh," he says, "yes, that's where they have the good library."
That's great.
Yeah, one of the customs officers. And then he came in the other day. And I could see he had his uniform. I said, "Are you the fellow that said that this was where we had the
Yeah.
I said, "I'm the guy."
Yeah, it's great. It's nice to hear that.
Yeah.
Makes you feel worthwhile. Were you in the car?
Yes.
You were,
yes,
okay.
I
Now,
was
kid,
with
do
it.
they live in that development in Candiac where all those houses are right around the
Oh, yeah.
shopping
It's a
area?
very fast-growing area there. I don't know whether in going over, if you're going over to the bridge,
Mm-hmm.
which bridge do we call it there? The old bridge.
Yeah. Well,
Starts with L. Well, anyhow, there's a big new McDonald's there right on the corner, and that's
Mhm.
we turn there, and that's go up to our sons. It's all rapidly growing development in through there.
nice area. Good enough.
Nice area, very residential.
We've spent the last 3 hours in Moores, New York. First at the residence, and now at the former work spot here. The many-hour devotion of Mrs. Vogan at the Moores Free Library. I said it right. Sometimes referred to as the Bidwell Library, but it's on the front. But it's the Moores Free Library officially. Trustee now, or on the board of directors, and a former librarian here for 40 years. Mr. Vogan, 25 years on the CEF, Clinton Essex Franklin Library. Books,
Library board.
library board. You got to remember that books, people have been their lives in this community for 62 years. He's been here, and you've been here for 59 years, give or take, a couple of months, right? Both teachers here. She retired from her teaching early to raise 5 children at home, and now is reaping the benefits of retirement. And you only have to cook for 2 now.
Right.
Anything else before I leave?
I think
He says no. Ready to go. Covers it all?
I think you've covered it all.
You're all right. Thank you.
More than covered.
Thank you very much,
Okay.
Mr. Vogan. Nice seeing you both.
Nice.
And we hope you tune in every Sunday to see our program called What's Going On Here. Calvin with the camera, Bob Venn with the mic. It's on at 1 o'clock, 4:30, 8 p.m., midnight, and 8 the following morning. And if you've got some ideas for us, why don't you let us know? We'll try to follow through on them. And number 2, if you're not a patron, become a patron to Hometown Cable. $12 or more to Hometown Cable, Ridge Road, Champlain, New York, and keep Calvin smiling. Good night, everybody.
Very good.